Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of Who Charted. I am Dan Russo, Co-CIO here at Potomac. And in this week's note, we were talking a lot about zooming in. I think so anytime there's market turbulence, long-term investors, the buy and hold passive types, love to tell you to zoom out, and they'll show you a 25, 30-year chart of the S&P 500. And yes, we all know that the S&P 500 has a natural upside bias. However, this week, we are moving in. We're going to zoom in on the S&P 500, and we are going to zoom in on the NASDAQ 100, and we'll use some Bollinger Bands here and look at near-term activity past week or so inside of the green boxes. And what you can see is for the past 4 days, we have closed at or near the lower band of these Bollinger Bands. Generally speaking, that sets you up for a near-term rally. Now, Friday afternoon, we saw a strong rally off the lows, and we would expect that to continue into Monday. Basically, what we're saying here is that the odds favor a near-term rebound. And if you're zooming in, ignoring some of this market turbulence and just looking at the opportunity, we think the opportunity could be there. Now, as we move to the next chart, we're going to zoom in on the transports. Now, the transport stocks, part of our intermarket research process, the transport stocks have basically been going nowhere for about 4 years. This big sideways consolidation here in the Dow Jones Transportation Average has been in place for 4 years, oscillating around the 27-week moving average. But if we zoom into the near term, last two attempts to go below the 27-week moving average here and here, the average acted as support. And then we actually had a strong move higher last week from the transport. So even as the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 were mostly weaker throughout all of last week, the transports bucked that trend and kind of diverged positively in the other direction. So zooming in, the transports are sending a bullish message near term. And now we're going to zoom in even further on one of the hot button issues in the market. We're looking at the Roundhill Mag 7 ETF here, the Magnificent Seven stocks. The lazy bear case on the market from people who have been bearish for a long time is that strength is concentrated in the largest names, right? And yes, have the Mag 7 been strong off of the April lows here? Absolutely, they've been strong. There's no doubt about that. But if we look relative to the S&P 500, relative to the S&P, we're just now breaking out, right? It's only in the past 2 months that on a relative basis, the Mag 7 stocks have broken out of a 1-year consolidation. Yes, nice, steady uptrend, little pullback here, maybe presents an opportunity. But the simple fact of the matter is, if somebody is making the case that market strength is concentrated only in the top 7 names, that's patently false and it's lazy analysis. All you have to do is look at the S&P 500 on an equal weight basis, right? So instead of looking at things on a capitalization weighted basis, we're going to neutralize those 7 stocks or maybe the top 10 and give everybody the same weight in the index. And what you will see if you zoom in here is that we are trading near all-time highs, right? So it's not just the 7 stocks. The other 493 stocks, actually it's 496, are doing pretty well. So it's kind of hard for me to agree with the concentration case or the bear case that it's only 7 stocks when I look at a chart like this and when I look at the fact again that the Mag 7 is just now breaking out on a relative basis. So we are going to end it there, right? Obviously we did one less chart this week. Sorry about that, but we're just trying to keep it compelling at all times. And the simple fact of the matter is, if we zoom in, we can see opportunities in the market on a short-term basis from both the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. And if we zoom in even further, we can see that the lazy analysis about too much concentration in the market is patently false. So as always, thanks for spending a few minutes with us. Hope everybody has a great week, and we will see you next week.